Please, she can't breathe. Someone help my baby. Maya Henderson's voice cracked as she stumbled through the entrance of St. Francis Medical Center, her daughter Lily limp in her arms. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Nurses rushed past. Monitors beeped in chaotic rhythm. Ma'am, you need to fill out. Bring them to exam room 3. The command cut through the chaos like a scalpel. Dr. Nathan Coleman stood at the nurse's station, white coat sharp against his tall frame, expression unreadable, cold, clinical, the kind of doctor who saved lives but never smiled. Now, he added, already moving. Maya's legs trembled as she followed him down the sterile hallway. Lily's shallow breathing was the only sound between her sobs. Inside the exam room, Nathan's hands moved with precision. Stethoscope, oxygen mask, vitals check. His jaw was set, his eyes focused. He didn't speak except to bark orders at the nurses. Then Lily's eyelids fluttered open. Her small voice, barely a whisper, broke through the tension. Doc, be my buddy? The room went still. Nathan froze mid-movement, his hand hovering over the IV line. Something flickered across his face. Shock, pain, something buried deep. Nurse Daniel glanced between them, surprised. Dr. Coleman never reacts to patients like this. Maya's tears fell harder, but this time from relief. Lily was awake. Lily was talking. And somehow, impossibly, her innocent words had cracked open the coldest man in the hospital. Nathan cleared his throat and stepped back, professional mask sliding into place. She's stable. We'll run tests. Thank you, Maya whispered, clutching Lily's hand. Thank you so much. He nodded once, then turned toward the door, but paused. Your daughter, he said without looking back. She's strong. Like her mother, he didn't say. Later that evening, as Nathan reviewed Lily's charts in his office, he found something unusual. A sketchbook, left behind on the waiting room chair. He flipped it open. Page after page of architectural drawings, detailed, professional, familiar. His eyes widened. The children's wing, the canceled hospital project from 6 years ago, the design everyone thought was lost. And at the bottom of one sketch, barely visible, Maya Henderson, lead designer. Nathan sat back in his chair, stunned. The woman he'd just saved wasn't just a struggling single mother. She was the architect whose dreams this hospital had stolen. How did she end up here? Why now? And why does it feel like fate brought her back to the place that destroyed her? The answers would unravel everything he thought he knew about the hospital, about himself, and about the little girl who asked him to be her buddy. If this story already stirs something within you, take a moment to subscribe. Join our circle of faith, hope, and love, and drop a comment to tell us where you're watching from. The fluorescent lights in Dr. Coleman's office felt harsher the next morning. Maya sat across from him, hands folded tight in her lap, while Lily colored at a small table in the corner, oblivious, thank God, to the weight of what was coming. Nathan cleared his throat, his fingers resting on a manila folder. Ms. Henderson, I've reviewed Lily's test results. Maya's breath caught. And her fainting spells aren't just fatigue or dehydration. He opened the folder, turning it so she could see the scans, though the medical jargon might as well have been hieroglyphics. She has a congenital heart defect, a small septal abnormality that's likely been there since birth. The room tilted. A heart defect? Maya's voice barely made it past her throat. It's manageable, Nathan said quickly, his tone softer now. But it will require monitoring, and depending on how it progresses, surgery may be necessary. Surgery? The word landed like a boulder. Maya's vision blurred. She blinked hard, willing herself not to cry. Not here. Not in front of him. How soon? She whispered. Not immediately. We'll schedule follow-ups every 2 weeks. If her symptoms worsen, more fainting, shortness of breath, chest pain, we'll need to act sooner. Maya nodded, but she wasn't really hearing him anymore. All she could think about was the stack of overdue bills on her kitchen counter, the eviction notice she'd shoved into a drawer, the phone calls from debt collectors she'd stopped answering. Ms. Henderson? She looked up, startled. Nathan was watching her carefully. Are you all right? I'm fine, she said too quickly. She swallowed. I don't have insurance. The admission burned. Nathan didn't flinch. We can work something out. I can pay in installments, Maya said, the words tumbling out in a rush. I have a job now, your assistant position, and I can pick up freelance work on the side. I just need time. I'll pay every cent, I promise. Ms. Henderson. His voice was calm, steady. We'll figure it out. She wanted to believe him, but she'd heard promises before. Lily's voice rang out from the corner. Doc Buddy. Nathan turned, and despite everything, a faint smile tugged at his lips. Yes, Lily? Do you like dinosaurs? He blinked. Dinosaurs? Uh-huh. I'm drawing a T-Rex. His name is Mr. Bitey. She held up her crayon masterpiece, a lopsided green creature with oversized teeth. That's very accurate, Nathan said, and Maya could have sworn she heard amusement in his voice. Mom says you promised to be my buddy. Buddies have to like dinosaurs. It's the rules. Maya's cheeks flushed. Lily, Dr. Coleman is very busy. It's fine, Nathan said, surprising her. He walked over to the table and crouched down to Lily's level. I didn't know about the dinosaur rule. I'll make a note of it. Lily beamed. Do you have a favorite? He hesitated, then said, Velociraptors. Ooh, the smart ones. Lily's eyes lit up. Mom says being smart is better than being big and scary. Nathan glanced at Maya, something unreadable in his expression. Your mom sounds wise. Maya looked away, fighting the sting in her eyes. Hey, if this story touches your heart even a little, go ahead and subscribe. Join our family of hope and love, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Let's share this journey together. Now let's continue. Later that afternoon, Nathan stood in the hallway outside his office staring at Maya's file. He should have handed it off to the billing department by now. Should have moved on to his next patient. But he didn't. Instead, he found himself flipping through her intake forms again. Single mother, no listed emergency contact besides her daughter. Previous employer, Henderson and Associates architecture firm, Henderson. The name nagged at him. Nathan, he looked up sharply. Vanessa Mills stood at the end of the hallway, perfectly composed in a tailored gray suit, her blonde hair swept into a flawless chignon. She looked like she belonged on a boardroom poster. Polished, powerful, untouchable, and his ex-fiancée. Vanessa. His tone was flat. What are you doing here? Board meeting ran long. She walked closer, heels clicking against the tile. I saw your name on a consultation report. A charity case? Nathan's jaw tightened. She's a patient, with no insurance, no financial plan, and a child who will need expensive ongoing care. Vanessa's smile was thin. You know how the board feels about these situations. Since when do you speak for the board? Since I became one of its most influential members, she said coolly. St. Francis's is a business, Nathan. We can't afford to hemorrhage money on every sob story that walks through the door. She's not a sob story. Vanessa raised an eyebrow. Then what is she? Nathan didn't answer because he didn't know. All he knew was that something about Maya Henderson, her quiet strength, her refusal to break even when the world was crushing her, had gotten under his skin, and he couldn't shake it. Just be careful, Vanessa said, her voice dropping. The board is watching, and so am I. She turned and walked away, leaving Nathan standing alone in the hallway, fists clenched. Later, Nurse Daniel found him in the break room. You look like you're about to punch a wall, Daniel said, pouring himself coffee. I'm fine. Sure, that's why you've been staring at the same patient file for an hour. Nathan sighed and set the folder down. Vanessa paid me a visit. Daniel winced. Let me guess, she doesn't approve of Ms. Henderson. She called her a charity case. Well, technically, don't. Daniel held up his hands. I'm just saying, Vanessa's not wrong about the finances, but she's wrong about the woman. Nathan looked at him. What do you mean? I've been a nurse here for 12 years, Daniel said. I've seen hundreds of parents come through those doors, panicked, desperate, angry. But Ms. Henderson, she didn't yell, didn't demand. She just held her daughter and asked for help. He paused. That takes strength, real strength. Nathan stared into his coffee. You want my advice? Daniel continued. Help her. Protocol be damned. And if the board finds out, then they find out. Daniel shrugged, but at least you'll know you did the right thing. That evening, Nathan watched from his office window as Maya left the hospital aisle. Her umbrella was broken, one of the spokes bent at an awkward angle, but she held it over Lily's head anyway, letting the rain soak her own shoulders. Lily skipped beside her, clutching her dinosaur drawing, oblivious to the storm. And Maya smiled, even now, even carrying the weight of the world. She smiled for her daughter. Nathan's chest tightened. He didn't know why this woman, this stranger, had lodged herself so firmly in his thoughts. But as he watched them disappear into the rain, one thing became painfully clear. He wasn't going to let her face this alone. Not if he could help it, even if it cost him everything. 2 weeks later, Maya returned to St. Francis for Lily's follow-up tests. She looked tired, more tired than before. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her clothes, though clean, were slightly wrinkled. Nathan noticed these things from across the waiting room, though he told himself it was just professional observation. "Ms. Henderson," he approached with Lily's chart in hand. "Ready?" Maya nodded, standing quickly. "Yes, thank you, Dr. Coleman." Lily bounced up beside her, clutching a worn stuffed dinosaur. "Hi. Doc, buddy?" Despite himself, Nathan's lips twitched. "Hello, Lily. I see Mr. Beatty came along." "He was scared of the hospital," Lily whispered loudly. "So I told him you're nice." "That's thoughtful of you." Maya's cheeks flushed. "Lily, let Dr. Coleman work." "It's fine," Nathan said, surprising himself again. He gestured toward the exam rooms. "Nurse Daniel will take Lily for her EKG. It shouldn't take more than 20 minutes. Maya hesitated, her hand tightening on Lily's shoulder. "I'll be right here," Nathan added quietly. "She's in good hands." Something in his tone must have reassured her, because Maya nodded and crouched down to Lily's level. "Be brave, baby. I'll be right outside." "Okay, Mommy." Lily kissed her cheek, then skipped off with Daniel, completely unbothered. Maya watched her go, exhaling slowly. "She's resilient," Nathan observed. "She has to be." Maya's voice was soft, almost bitter. Then she caught herself. "I'm sorry, that sounded—" "Honest," Nathan finished. It sounded honest. Their eyes met briefly before Maya looked away, wrapping her arms around herself. "You can wait in the consultation room if you'd like," Nathan said. "It's quieter." "Thank you." Nathan returned to his office, intending to review Lily's previous test results. Instead, his attention caught on something left behind on the chair in the consultation room. A sketchbook, worn leather cover, pages dog-eared and smudged with fingerprints. He shouldn't look. It wasn't his business, but curiosity, or maybe something else, made him pick it up. The first page was a simple drawing, Lily's stick-figure family, two people holding hands under a sun. He flipped forward and froze. Architectural drawings, detailed floor plans, elevation sketches, structural annotations written in precise, elegant handwriting. And not just any building, this building. St. Francis Medical Center. Specifically the children's wing, the one that was supposed to be built 6 years ago. The project that had been mysteriously canceled, buried under budget cuts and board politics. Nathan's pulse quickened as he turned page after page. Every detail was here. The atrium with floor-to-ceiling windows. The pediatric surgical suites designed for minimal stress. The family waiting areas with natural light and soft colors. It was brilliant, and it was identical to the blueprints he'd seen in the hospital archives. At the bottom of one sketch, barely visible in faded pencil, Maya Henderson, lead designer. His breath caught. She designed this. Before he could process it further, the door opened. Maya stepped in, her expression shifting from surprise to something close to panic when she saw what he was holding. She moved forward quickly. "That's mine. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to leave it." "You designed the children's wing," Nathan said quietly. Maya stopped. Her hands dropped to her sides. "Yes." The word hung in the air between them. Nathan closed the sketchbook carefully and set it on the desk. "I've seen the original blueprints in the archives. These are identical." "They should be." Maya's voice was steady now, but something fragile lurked beneath. "I spent 2 years on that project. It was supposed to be the hospital's flagship expansion." "What happened?" She laughed, a short, bitter sound. "What always happens. Someone with more power and less integrity. Nathan waited. Maya sank into the chair, her shoulders sagging. I was part of a contracted design firm, Henderson and Associates, my ex-husband's company, actually. When I joined the St. Francis Project, I thought it was my chance to build something meaningful, something that would help children. Her fingers twisted together in her lap. I worked night shifts, weekends. I was obsessed with getting every detail right. The lighting, the acoustics, even the way the hallways curved so kids wouldn't feel trapped. She looked up at him and her eyes were glossy. I wanted it to feel like hope. Nathan's chest tightened. But then my marriage fell apart, Maya continued. And when I filed for divorce, my ex made sure I lost everything. He had connections on the hospital board, friends in high places. She paused. One day I came into work and my access was revoked. They said there were budget issues, that the project was being restructured. And your designs? Stolen. The word was flat, final. My ex's business partner took credit, submitted my work under her name. By the time I figured it out, I'd already been let go. No references, no severance, just gone. Nathan felt something dark and angry coil in his chest. I tried to fight it, Maya said quietly, but I had no proof, no leverage, and I had Lily to think about. Her voice cracked. So I walked away. Silence settled over the room. Nathan stood slowly, his mind racing. Why did you apply here, to St. Francis? Maya looked at him, and for the first time, he saw the full weight of her exhaustion. Because I needed a job, she said simply. And because some part of me, I don't know, maybe I wanted to see if the dream was still real, even if it wasn't mine anymore. Nathan's jaw tightened. This woman who'd been betrayed, erased, and discarded still carried hope. It humbled him, and it made him furious on her behalf. I'm sorry, he said, the words inadequate. For what happened to you, for what this hospital allowed to happen. Maya shook her head. You didn't know. That doesn't make it right. She met his eyes and something passed between them, understanding maybe, or recognition. Thank you, she whispered, for saying that. That night, long after Maya and Lily had gone home, Nathan sat alone in the hospital archives. Dusty file boxes surrounded him, each labeled with project codes and dates. He'd been searching for over an hour, pulling records from 6 years ago. Finally, he found it, St. Francis Children's Wing Expansion. 20, and he opened the folder. Inside were blueprints, credited to Lauren Brooks, Senior Design Director. But beneath them, buried in the appendix, were meeting notes, email chains, budget proposals, and Maya's name, over and over. Maya Henderson, lead conceptual designer. Henderson to present final mock-ups. Board approval pending Henderson's revised structural plans, approved by engineering. Then, abruptly, the trail went cold. One final memo, dated 3 months before the project cancellation. Personnel change. Henderson contract terminated. Brooks to assume lead role. No explanation, no justification, just erasure. Nathan leaned back in his chair, his hands clenched into fists. Maya had told the truth, and someone at this hospital had conspired to bury it. He didn't know who yet, but he was going to find out, even if it meant tearing apart the very institution he'd sworn to serve. The next morning, Nathan arrived at the hospital before dawn. He'd barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Maya's face. The exhaustion, the quiet resignation when she'd said, "So I walked away." No one should have to walk away from their dreams like that. Not without a fight. He headed straight for the administrative wing, bypassing his usual morning rounds. The records department was still locked, but Nathan had chief physician clearance. The door clicked open. Inside, he pulled more files, cross-referenced names, traced email threads that had been CC'd and forwarded through half a dozen departments. And there it was, Lauren Brooks, Senior Design Director, promoted 6 years ago, right after the Children's Wing project was restructured. Before that, she'd been a junior associate, nowhere near qualified to lead a hospital expansion. But after Maya's termination, Lauren's career had skyrocketed. Coincidence? Nathan didn't believe in coincidences anymore. He was still reading when a voice cut through the silence. Looking for something, Der Coleman? Nathan turned. Lauren Brooks stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her perfectly tailored blazer sharp as a blade. She was in her early 40s, attractive in a calculated way, dark hair pulled into a severe bun, red lipstick, heels that clicked like punctuation marks. "Ms. Brooks?" Nathan kept his tone neutral. "I didn't realize you came in this early." "I don't usually." She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. Right. "But security alerted me when someone accessed the archives. Imagine my surprise when I saw it was you." Nathan set the file down slowly. "I'm reviewing an old project. The children's wing." Lauren's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Curious timing, don't you think? Right after you hired Maya Henderson as your assistant." So she knew. "Ms. Henderson's employment has nothing to do with this," Nathan said evenly. "Doesn't it?" Lauren moved closer, her gaze sharp. "I've seen the way you look at her, Nathan, and I've heard the whispers. The great Dr. Coleman playing hero for a single mother with a sob story. Watch your tone." "Or what?" Lauren's voice dropped. "Dangerous now. You'll ruin your career over her? Because that's exactly what you're doing. Maya Henderson is a liar and a fraud. She tried to steal credit for my work 6 years ago, and when she couldn't, she played the victim." Nathan's jaw tightened. "That's not what the records show." "Records can be misinterpreted." Lauren leaned against the desk, her expression shifting to something almost pitying. "You're a brilliant surgeon, Nathan, but you're naive when it comes to people like her. She's manipulating you, using her daughter to pull at your heartstrings." "You're wrong." "Am I?" Lauren tilted her head. "Ask yourself this. Why would a woman with her so-called talent end up scrubbing floors and fetching coffee? Why didn't she fight harder if her designs were really stolen?" "Because she had no power," Nathan said quietly. "And you knew that." Lauren's smile faded. "Stay away from this, Nathan," she said coldly. "You'll ruin yourself for a woman like her. And trust me, she's not worth it." She turned and walked out, heels echoing down the empty hallway. Nathan stood alone, fists clenched. He was getting close to something, and Lauren Brooks knew it. By midday, the hospital was buzzing with a different kind of energy. Vanessa Mills had returned. Nathan spotted her in the main lobby, surrounded by staff and board members, all smiles and polished charm. She wore a cream-colored suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, and her laugh rang out like crystal. "Nathan!" She waved him over. "There you are." He had no choice but to approach. "Vanessa," his tone was clipped, "I didn't know you were visiting today." "Surprise inspection." She smiled, but her eyes were calculating. "The board wants to ensure our new fundraising initiatives are being properly allocated." "You know how it is." She looped her arm through his, steering him away from the crowd. "I heard you've been spending time in the archives," she said quietly. "Looking into old projects." Nathan stopped walking. "Who told you that?" "Does it matter?" Vanessa's grip tightened. "I'm worried about you, Nathan. You've been distracted, emotional. That's not like you." "I'm fine, Ibishayim." "Are you?" She turned to face him fully. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're getting involved with someone who doesn't belong here. Someone who's already caused problems for this hospital once before." "You mean Maya Henderson?" Vanessa's expression hardened. "Yes, I mean her." "She didn't cause problems," Nathan said flatly. "She was used and then discarded." "Is that what she told you?" Vanessa laughed softly. "Nathan, you're too trusting. Maya Henderson is a liability, and if you keep defending her, you'll become one too." Before he could respond, a voice interrupted them. "Ms. Mills, there you are." A man approached, tall, silver-haired, expensively dressed, mid-50s, with the kind of confidence that came from never hearing the word no. Vanessa's expression shifted into something warmer. "Richard, perfect timing." She turned to Nathan. "Dr. Coleman, this is Richard Hayes. He's consulting on our new expansion plans." Nathan's blood ran cold. Richard Hayes, the name from Maya's file, her ex-husband's business partner, the man who'd stolen her designs. Richard extended his hand, smiling. "Pleasure to meet you, Dr. Coleman. I've heard great things." Nathan didn't take his hand. The smile faltered. "Is there a problem?" "No," Nathan said evenly. "No problem at all." But as Richard and Vanessa walked away together, laughing like old friends, Nathan realized exactly what he was up against. This wasn't just about stolen designs or hospital politics. This was a conspiracy, and Maya was still caught in the middle of it. That evening, Nathan returned to the archives one last time. He'd been through every file, every email, every memo, but something still felt missing. Then he found it, tucked into the back of a dusty accordion folder, an original draft of the Children's Wing proposal. Hand-drawn, annotated, signed. Maya Henderson, lead designer, March 2019. And beneath it, in smaller print, for the children who need hope most. Nathan stared at the signature, his throat tight. This was proof, undeniable, concrete proof that Maya had created everything Lauren Brooks had claimed as her own. He carefully photographed every page, then tucked the folder under his arm. He didn't know what he was going to do with it yet, but one thing was certain: he wasn't going to let them erase her again, not while he could still fight. The knock on Nathan's office door came at 4:47 p.m. on a Friday. He looked up from his computer, surprised. His last patient had left an hour ago, and the administrative staff had already gone home. "Come in." The door opened, and Lily burst through, holding a plastic container with both hands. Maya followed behind, looking apologetic. "I'm so sorry to bother you," Maya said quickly. Lily insisted. "Doc Buddy!" Lily marched straight to his desk, setting the container down with ceremonial importance. "We made you cookies." Nathan blinked. "You made me cookies?" "Uh-huh. Chocolate chip. Mom says they're the best kind for saying thank you." He looked at Maya, who'd stopped in the doorway, her cheeks flushed. "She wouldn't take no for an answer," Maya said, half laughing. "I told her you were busy, but I wanted to keep my buddy promise," Lily interrupted. "Buddies bring each other cookies. It's in the rules." Nathan felt something warm and unfamiliar unfold in his chest. "I see. Well, I wouldn't want to break the rules." He opened the container. The cookies were slightly misshapen with uneven chocolate chips, but they smelled like home, butter and sugar, and something he couldn't quite name. He took one and bit into it. "Well?" Lily bounced on her toes. "Do you like it?" It was sweet, almost too sweet, but also somehow perfect. "It's excellent," Nathan said honestly. "Best cookie I've had in years." Lily's face lit up like sunrise. "See, Ma? I told you he'd like them." Maya smiled a real smile, soft and unguarded. And for a moment, Nathan forgot how to breathe. "You didn't have to do this," he said quietly. "I know." Maya met his eyes. "But we wanted to." 20 minutes later, Lily was sprawled on the floor of his office, drawing dinosaurs on printer paper. Maya sat across from Nathan, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee he'd made in the break room. It wasn't great coffee, but she drank it anyway. "She talks about you constantly," Maya said, glancing at her daughter. "Doc Buddy this, Doc Buddy that. I think you've replaced dinosaurs as her favorite topic." "High praise," Maya laughed, and the sound did something dangerous to his composure. "She doesn't warm up to people easily. After everything with her father—" She trailed off, then shook her head. "Sorry, I shouldn't." "You can talk about it," Nathan said, "if you want." She looked at him for a long moment, as if deciding whether he meant it. Then she exhaled slowly. "My ex-husband wasn't a bad man exactly," Maya said. "But he was ambitious, ruthless even. When I got pregnant, he saw it as an inconvenience, a distraction from building his firm." Her fingers tightened around the mug. "I thought things would change after Lily was born, that he'd see her and fall in love. But he didn't." "No." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "He left when she was 6 months old. Filed for divorce, claimed I was unstable, tried to get full custody so I wouldn't interfere with his career." She paused. "I fought him. Won. But it cost me everything else. My broom, my savings, my reputation." Nathan felt anger simmer beneath his ribs. "I'm sorry." "Don't be." Maya looked up, and there was steel in her eyes. "I'd do it all again. Lily is the best thing that ever happened to me." Across the room, Lily hummed to herself, completely oblivious to the weight of the conversation. "What about you?" Maya asked softly. "Do you have family? Someone waiting for you after long shifts?" Nathan's jaw tightened. He never talked about this. Not with colleagues, not with friends, not with anyone. But something about Maya, her honesty, her quiet strength, made him want to try. I was engaged once, he said finally. Her name was Claire. Maya went still, listening. She was a teacher, elementary school. She loved kids more than anything. His throat felt tight. We were planning the wedding, picking out invitations, arguing about whether to serve chicken or fish. He stopped, the memories sharp and vivid. She died in a car accident 3 years ago, he continued. Drunk driver ran a red light. She was gone before the paramedics arrived. Nathan, Maya whispered, I'm so sorry. I blamed myself for a long time. He looked down at his hands. I was supposed to pick her up that night, but I got pulled into an emergency surgery. She took a cab instead. He paused. If I just don't. Maya's voice was firm. Don't do that to yourself. He looked up, surprised. You can't carry that guilt, she said. It'll destroy you. Trust me, I know. Their eyes met and held. And in that moment, something shifted. An understanding, a recognition of shared pain. Thank you, Nathan said quietly, for the cookies and for this. Anytime, Doc, buddy. Maya's smile was small but genuine. Their gazes lingered a beat too long. Then Lily's voice broke the spell. Mom, come see me. I drew Doc Buddy fighting a T-Rex. Maya laughed and stood, but as she passed Nathan's chair, her hand brushed his shoulder just for a second. It felt like lightning. That same evening across town, Vanessa and Richard sat in a dim restaurant booth. She's becoming a problem, Vanessa said, swirling her wine. Nathan's been digging through old files. It's only a matter of time before he finds something incriminating. Then we make sure what he finds points in the right direction. Richard pulled out a tablet, scrolling through documents. I've already planted falsified invoices in the hospital's construction audit records. They show payments made to Maya Henderson's personal account during the Children's Wing project. Vanessa raised an eyebrow. Payments for what? Consulting fees that were never approved, kickbacks, essentially. It'll look like she embezzled funds before disappearing. And when the board discovers this, they'll have no choice but to investigate. And once Maya's credibility is destroyed, Nathan will have nothing to stand on. Richard smiled coldly. She'll be arrested for fraud, and he'll be humiliated for defending her. Vanessa clinked her glass against his. To problem solving. Late that night, Nathan carried Lily's forgotten backpack to his car. Maya had left it behind in the rush to get home before Lily's bedtime. He'd planned to drop it off on his way home. Their apartment wasn't far from the hospital. But as he set it on the passenger seat, something fell out. An envelope, worn, creased, covered in crayon drawings. He picked it up, intending to tuck it back inside. Then he saw what was drawn on the front. A hospital. Windows and doors sketched in a child's hand. Stick figure doctors and patients. And at the top, in careful letters, Mom's dream place. Nathan's breath caught. He turned the envelope over. On the back, in faded ink, was an architect's signature. Maya Henderson, lead designer, St. Francis Children's Wing. And beneath it, in Lily's unsteady handwriting, when I grow up, I want to build dreams like Mommy. Nathan sat in his car, staring at the envelope, his chest tight. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't chance. Destiny had brought Maya back to St. Francis, and he wasn't going to shed and anyone destroy her again. Not Vanessa. Not Richard. Not the entire hospital board. He would fight for her, even if it cost him everything. The St. Francis annual fundraiser was held in the hospital's grand atrium, the one part of the building that actually felt like it deserved the word grand. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings. String quartets played in the corner. Donors in tailored suits and evening gowns sipped champagne and congratulated each other on their generosity. Nathan hated these events, but attendance was mandatory for department heads. So here he stood, tugging at his bow tie and counting down the minutes until he could leave. Then he saw Maya. She was near the entrance, half hidden behind a column, wearing a simple navy dress that looked like it had been pulled from the back of her closet. She didn't belong here, not because she wasn't good enough, but because this world of wealth and performance had no idea what real strength looked like. He started toward her, but before he could reach her, Vanessa's voice cut through the music. Ladies and gentlemen, If I could have your attention, please. Vanessa stood at the podium, microphone in hand, smiling like a queen addressing her subjects. Nathan's stomach dropped. Thank you all for being here tonight, Vanessa continued. Your contributions make St. Francis the beacon of hope it is today. But tonight I must address a matter of integrity. The room went silent. It has come to the board's attention, Vanessa said, her tone grave, that there are serious financial irregularities related to a hospital project from several years ago, specifically the children's wing expansion. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Nathan's blood ran cold. An internal audit has revealed falsified invoices and unauthorized payments totaling over $200,000. Vanessa paused for effect. Payments made to a former contractor, Maya Henderson. The room erupted. Gasps, whispers, heads turning to locate the accused. Maya stood frozen, her face drained of color. Ms. Henderson is currently employed here as an assistant, Vanessa continued smoothly. And while we believe in second chance, the board cannot ignore evidence of fraud. An official investigation has been opened. Nathan pushed through the crowd, his heart pounding. This is absurd. Dr. Coleman. Vanessa's smile was ice. Unless you have evidence to the contrary, I suggest you refrain from interfering. She didn't steal anything, Nathan said loudly, his voice echoing through the atrium. Those records are fabricated. The crowd shifted, uncertain. Can you prove that? Vanessa asked, tilting her head. Nathan's jaw tightened. Not yet, but he would. I thought not. Vanessa turned back to the microphone. The board takes these matters very seriously. Ms. Henderson has been placed on immediate leave pending investigation, and Dr. Coleman, her eyes locked on his, has been suspended for conflict of interest. The room exploded with noise. Nathan barely heard it. He was already moving toward Maya, who looked like she might collapse. Maya, don't. Her voice was a whisper. Please don't. She turned and walked out, her shoulders shaking. Nathan followed, ignoring the cameras, the whispers, the board members calling his name. He found her in the parking lot, leaning against a car, trying to breathe. Maya, they're going to arrest me, she said flatly. Aren't they? No, I won't let that happen. She laughed bitterly. You can't stop this, Nathan. You saw what just happened. They have records, evidence. It doesn't matter that it's fake. No one will believe me. I believe you. She looked at him then, tears streaming down her face. And look what it cost you. Your power, your reputation. Her voice broke. You should have stayed away from me. I don't regret it. You will. By morning, the story had gone viral. Local hospital assistant accused of embezzling 200K St. Francis. Investigates fraud scandal. Single mother's dark past exposed. Maya's photo was everywhere, pulled from some old LinkedIn profile, paired with headlines that painted her as a criminal. Nathan watched the news coverage from his apartment, fury building with every passing minute. His phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. Meet me at Joe's Diner. Now, I have something. 20 minutes later, Nathan slid into a booth across from Daniel. The nurse looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept. Tell me you have good news, Nathan said. Daniel slid a thumb drive across the table. Better, I have proof. Nathan picked it up. Proof of what? Vanessa and Richard's embezzlement scheme. Daniel leaned forward, lowering his voice. I've been suspicious for months. Vanessa pushed through a major equipment purchase last year. Ventilators, surgical robots, the works. But the invoices didn't match the inventory. You think she was skimming? I know she was. And Richard was the middleman. Daniel tapped the thumb drive. That has everything. Falsified purchase orders, offshore account transfers, email chains between Vanessa and Richard discussing how to reallocate hospital funds. Nathan's pulse quickened. How did you get this? It keeps backup records of everything. I've been friends with the network admin for years. Daniel grimaced. He owed me a favor. Nathan stared at the thumb drive, his mind racing. This was it. The proof he needed to destroy Vanessa and Richard, to clear Maya's name. There's more, Daniel said quietly. The fake invoices they planted to frame Maya, they're dated 2 weeks ago. Whoever created them didn't bother matching the original file metadata. So they're provably fabricated. Exactly. Nathan stood abruptly. Where's the board meeting? Daniel checked his watch. They're convening in an hour to finalize Maya's termination and criminal referral. Not if I can help it. Back at her apartment, Maya was packing. She moved mechanically, clothes into suitcases, dishes into boxes. Lily sat on the couch, clutching Mr. Bitey, watching with confused eyes. Mommy, where are we going? Somewhere new, baby. Maya's voice was hollow. Somewhere we can start over. But what about Doc Buddy? Maya's hand stilled. He has his own life, sweetheart. But he promised, Lily's voice rose. He promised to be my buddy. I know, baby, but no. Lily jumped off the couch, tears streaming. You always say promises are important. He promised. Maya knelt down, pulling her daughter close. Sometimes grown-ups break promises, Lily, even when they don't want to. But Doc Buddy wouldn't. He wouldn't. Maya closed her eyes, her own tears falling. Maybe Lily was right. Maybe Nathan wouldn't break his promise. But it didn't matter, because Maya couldn't let him destroy his life for hers. Nathan stormed through the hospital corridors, the thumb drive clutched in his fist. Staff members stared. A few tried to stop him. He didn't slow down. He reached the boardroom and threw open the doors. Inside, a dozen board members sat around a polished table. Vanessa at the head, Richard beside her, looking smug. They all turned. Dr. Coleman, Vanessa said coldly, you're suspended. You have no authority to be here. I have evidence, Nathan said, his voice cutting through the room. Evidence of embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy. He slammed the thumb drive onto the table. And when you're done reviewing it, he continued, his gaze locked on Vanessa, you're going to realize that the only criminals in this room are sitting at the head of this table. Vanessa's smile faltered. Richard went pale, and Nathan felt something fierce and unstoppable ignite in his chest. This fight wasn't over, it was just beginning. The boardroom had never been so silent. Nathan stood at the head of the table, chest heaving, the thumb drive still resting where he'd slammed it down. Every board member stared, some shocked, some skeptical, a few quietly calculating. Vanessa's composure had cracked, just slightly, a tightness around her eyes, a hand gripping the edge of the table. Richard looked like he wanted to bolt. Coleman, one of the senior board members, said carefully, these are serious allegations. They're not allegations, Nathan said. Bah, they're facts. Everything you need is on that drive. Falsified purchase orders, offshore transfers, email correspondence between Ms. Mills and Mr. Hayes discussing how to embezzle hospital funds and frame Maya Henderson for their crimes. That's absurd, Vanessa said, but her voice was too sharp, too defensive. This is a desperate attempt to what? Nathan cut her off. To save an innocent woman from being destroyed by the people who've already stolen everything from her once? You're emotionally compromised, Richard interjected smoothly. Everyone can see that. Your judgment is clouded by your attachment to Ms. Henderson. My judgment is the only clear thing in this room. Nathan's gaze swept across the board. Maya Henderson designed the children's wing. Her work was stolen by Lauren Brooks with approval from people at this table. And when she returned, by pure coincidence, Vanessa and Richard fabricated evidence to frame her for fraud. Prove it, Vanessa said coldly. Nathan gestured to the thumb drive. It's all there. Review it. Or are you afraid of what you'll find? The head of the board, Dr. Patricia Chen, reached for the drive. Cecile, we'll need time to... Vanessa stood abruptly. This meeting is over. Sit down, Vanessa, Dick Chen said quietly. I will not sit here and be accused. You'll sit down or you'll be escorted out. Dr. Chen's voice was steel. Dr. Coleman has presented evidence. We will review it. Now. Vanessa's face went white, then red. Then she pulled out her phone. 15 minutes later, 2 police officers entered the boardroom. We're looking for Maya Henderson, one of them said. Nathan's blood went cold. What? There's a warrant for her arrest, the officer continued. Embezzlement and fraud. Is she on the premises? No, Nathan said quickly. And that warrant is based on falsified... We don't determine validity, sir. We execute warrants. Vanessa stood, smoothing her jacket. I believe Miss Henderson lives in the Riverside Apartments, Unit 3B. The officer nodded. Thank you, ma'am. They turned to leave. Nathan grabbed his keys and ran. He reached Maya's apartment building just as the police were leading her out in handcuffs. She looked small, broken, her face streaked with tears, and behind her, Lily was screaming, "Mommy, no, don't take my mommy." A neighbor held the little girl back, but Lily fought, reaching desperately toward her mother. "Lily, baby, it's okay." Maya's voice cracked. "It's going to be okay." No, Doc Buddy. Doc Buddy, help! Nathan pushed through the small crowd that had gathered. "Stop. You can't arrest her." The officer turned. "Sir, step back. She didn't commit fraud. The evidence against her is fabricated. That's for the courts to decide." "Then let me post bail. Sir, if you interfere, I'll arrest you too." Nathan's hands clenched into fists. Maya met his eyes across the distance. "Don't," she whispered. "Please, just take care of Lily." "Maya." But they were already putting her into the patrol car. Lily broke free from the neighbor and ran to Nathan, sobbing, clutching his legs. You promised to be my buddy. Don't let them take her." Nathan dropped to his knees, pulling the little girl into his arms. "I'm going to fix this, Lily, I promise. I'm going to bring your mom home." "You promise?" "I promise." By the time Nathan got Lily settled with Daniel's family, the story had already hit the news. St. Francis' assistant, arrested on fraud charges. Camera footage showed Maya being led away in handcuffs. Lily screaming. The chaos. Nathan's phone exploded with calls, reporters, colleagues, board members demanding answers. He ignored all of them. Instead, he called his lawyer. Then he called every contact he had in local media. And then he drove to the police station. The press conference was hastily arranged. A cluster of reporters gathered outside the precinct, cameras rolling, microphones thrust forward. Nathan stood on the steps, exhausted but resolute. "Maya Henderson is innocent," he said, his voice cutting through the noise. "She's been framed by people in positions of power who wanted to cover up their own crimes. The evidence against her is fabricated. I have proof." "Mr. Coleman, isn't it true you're romantically involved with Ms. Henderson?" a reporter called out. "I'm not romantically involved with her," Nathan said evenly. "But if caring about the truth makes me guilty, then yes, I'm guilty. If believing in someone who's been wrong makes me guilty, then I'm guilty of that too." His voice rose, steady and fierce. "Maya Henderson is a mother, an architect, a woman who lost everything because powerful people decided her dreams were worth stealing. And now those same people are trying to destroy her again." He paused, letting the words sink in. "If she's guilty, then so am I for believing in good people, for thinking that justice still matters." The cameras flashed. The questions came rapid fire. But Nathan didn't flinch. "I will clear her name," he said, "even if it costs me my career, my reputation, everything, because some things are worth fighting for." The clip went viral within hours. #Justice for Maya trended on social media. People shared the footage of Lily screaming for her mother. Nathan's impassioned defense. Public opinion began to shift. Who is Maya Henderson? Why would a doctor risk everything to defend her? What really happened at St. Francis? By midnight, the hospital's phone lines were jammed with calls demanding answers. And in a holding cell downtown, Maya sat alone, staring at the concrete walls. She didn't know that Nathan had made a promise to her daughter. She didn't know that he'd stood in front of cameras and declared her innocent. She didn't know that the world was starting to listen. All she knew was that she was tired. So tired. And for the first time in years, she let herself hope, just a little, that maybe someone would fight for her, that maybe she wasn't alone anymore. In his car outside the precinct, Nathan sat with his head in his hands. His phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. "Lily's asleep. She kept asking for you and her mom." Nathan's throat tightened. He typed back, "Tell her I'm keeping my promise." Then he started the engine. He wasn't done fighting, not even close. The call came at 2:47 a.m. Nathan was still awake, hunched over his laptop in his apartment, reviewing the evidence against Vanessa and Richard for the 100th time. His phone buzzed, and Daniel's name flashed on the screen. "Daniel, it's Lily." Daniel's voice was tight with urgency. She collapsed. We're bringing her in now. It's bad, Nathan. The world stopped. I'm on my way. Nathan reached St. Francis in 12 minutes, a drive that should have taken 20. He burst through the ER entrance and found Daniel in the hallway, still in his pajamas, face pale. Where is she? Trauma 2, her heart rate's erratic, beats is dropping. We've got her on oxygen, but Daniel's voice cracked. Nathan, she's asking for her mom. Where's Maya? Still in holding. I called the station. They're trying to get emergency release, but get her here now. Nathan was already moving. I don't care what it takes. Get her here. He pushed through the doors into Trauma 2. Lily lay on the gurney, small and fragile beneath white sheets. Monitors beeped erratically. An oxygen mask covered half her face. Her eyes were half closed, fluttering. Dr. Sarah Kim, the on-call cardiologist, looked up. Dr. Coleman, you're suspended. I don't care. Nathan moved to Lily's side, checking her vitals. What's her status? Ventricular arrhythmia. The septal defect is causing abnormal blood flow. We need to operate, but we're waiting for parental consent. How long? They said 20 minutes, maybe less. She doesn't have 20 minutes. Nathan's jaw tightened. He looked down at Lily, whose eyes flickered open briefly. Doc, buddy, her voice was barely a whisper. I'm here, sweetheart. I'm right here. Mommy, she's coming, I promise. Lily's eyes closed again. The monitor alarm shrieked. She's in V-fib, Sarah shouted. Everything happened at once. Nurses rushed in. The crash cart appeared. Nathan's hands moved on instinct. Chest compressions, defibrillator paddles. Clear. Shock. Lily's small body jerked. The flatline continued. Again, EMS, Nathan said, voice steady despite the chaos in his chest. Nathan, you can't, again, shock. The line stayed flat, then a blip, another, a rhythm. We've got her back, Sarah breathed, but she needs surgery, now. Nathan looked at the monitor, at Lily's stabilized but fragile heartbeat, and made a decision. Prep or 3, I'm operating. You're suspended, then suspend me again after I save her life. Maya arrived 16 minutes later, still wearing the orange jumpsuit from holding, an officer trailing behind her. She burst into the waiting area, wild-eyed, desperate. Where is she? Where's my daughter? Daniel caught her. She's in surgery. Dr. Coleman's operating. Is she? Maya's voice broke. Is she going to? He's the best, Daniel said firmly. If anyone can save her, it's him. Maya collapsed into a chair, hands covering her face, shoulders shaking. The officer stood awkwardly nearby. Ma'am, I have orders to bring you back after. She's not going anywhere, Daniel said sharply. Not until that surgery is done. The officer hesitated, then nodded and stepped back. Inside or 3, Nathan worked in silence. His hands moved with precision, scalpel, retractors, clamps. The surgical team around him operated like a well-oiled machine, anticipating his every move. But inside, Nathan was screaming. Lily's chest was so small, her heart even smaller. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and no, he pushed the thought away. He couldn't think about Claire. About the life he couldn't save. About all the ways he'd failed before. This was different. This was Lily, the little girl who'd asked him to be her buddy, who'd brought him cookies, who'd made him feel something other than emptiness for the first time in 3 years. He wasn't going to lose her. Suture, he said quietly. The nurse placed it in his hand. He worked carefully, stitching the septal defect closed, reinforcing the weakened tissue. Minutes stretched into hours. Sweat beaded on his forehead. His back ached. His hands never wavered. Heart rate stabilizing, the anesthesiologist announced. BP coming up. Rhythm normalizing. Nathan allowed himself one breath, then another. Close her up, he said softly. When Nathan finally emerged from the OR, still in his surgical scrubs, exhausted beyond words, Maya was on her feet instantly. Is she? She's going to be okay, Nathan said, and his voice cracked on the last word. Maya's knees buckled. Nathan caught her, and suddenly she was sobbing against his chest, her whole body shaking with relief and terror and gratitude. Thank you, she gasped. Thank you, thank you, thank you. She's strong, Nathan murmured, his arms tightening around her, just like her mother. For a moment, they just stood there, two broken people holding each other together in a hospital hallway. Not doctor and patient, not accused and defender, just two souls who'd been drowning and finally found air. When Maya finally pulled back, her eyes were red but clear. Can I see her? She's in recovery. Give them 10 minutes, then yes. Maya nodded, wiping her face. I don't know how to repay you. You don't have to. Nathan, you don't have to, he repeated more firmly this time. I made a promise. To Lily and to myself. Their eyes met, and in that moment something unspoken passed between them. Something that felt dangerously close to hope. 2 hours later, Lily woke up. Maya sat beside her bed, holding her hand, tears streaming silently down her face. Lily's eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first, then landing on her mother. Mommy? I'm here, baby. I'm right here. Did Doc Buddy fix me? Maya laughed through her tears. Yes, sweetheart, he fixed you. Good. Lily's smile was small but real, 'cause he promised, and buddies keep promises. From the doorway, Nathan watched them, his throat tight. Daniel appeared beside him. You did good, man. I kept a promise, Nathan said quietly. That's all. But as he watched Maya press a kiss to her daughter's forehead, watched Lily's smile grow stronger, watched the two of them hold each other like they'd never let go, he knew it was more than that. It was everything. 6 months later, spring sunlight poured through the glass atrium of the Lily Henderson Children's Wing. Maya stood at the podium, hands trembling slightly as she looked out at the crowd. Hospital staff, board members, donors, reporters, and families whose children would one day walk these halls. Her halls, her dream, finally real. She cleared her throat, and the murmur of conversation faded. When I first designed this building, Maya began, her voice steady despite the emotion threatening to overwhelm her, I was a different person, younger, more naive. I believed that if you worked hard enough, if you cared deeply enough, the world would recognize it. She paused, glancing at the architectural plans displayed behind her. Her original sketches, now preserved under glass. I was wrong. The world doesn't always work that way. Sometimes good people lose. Sometimes dreams get stolen. Sometimes you find yourself standing in the rain with nothing left but your child's hand in yours and a prayer that tomorrow will be kinder. The crowd was silent, listening. But I learned something else too. Maya's voice grew stronger. I learned that healing doesn't always begin in a hospital. Sometimes it begins in the heart, in the kindness of a stranger who becomes a friend, in the promise made to a little girl who just wanted someone to be her buddy. Her eyes found Nathan in the front row. He was watching her with an expression she'd come to know well over the past months. Steady, supportive, present. This building exists because people believed in second chances, Maya continued. Because a doctor refused to let injustice stand, because a community demanded truth, and because a little girl reminded us all that sometimes the simplest promises are the most important ones to keep. She stepped back from the podium as applause filled the atrium. Vanessa Mills and Richard Hayes had been sentenced 3 months earlier. Nathan had sat in the courtroom gallery watching as the judge handed down the verdict. 5 years for embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy. Vanessa's perfect composure had finally shattered. Richard had simply looked defeated. Lauren Brooks had resigned quietly, avoiding prosecution in exchange for testimony against the others. The board had issued a formal apology to Maya, offered her the position of lead architect for all future hospital expansions, reinstated Nathan with full honors. But the real victory was standing here today. In the building Maya had dreamed into existence. Lily stood near the ribbon wearing a white dress with yellow flowers embroidered on the collar. She'd grown taller in 6 months, healthier. Her cheeks had color now and her smile came easily. The scar from her surgery was hidden beneath her dress, but she wore it like a badge of honor. Are you ready, sweetheart? Maya asked, kneeling beside her. Lily nodded solemnly. Mom, is this really named after me? It really is. That's so cool. Lily's eyes widened. Wait till the kids at school hear about this. Maya laughed, kissing her forehead. Come on, let's cut the ribbon. They walked together to the entrance, where a wide red ribbon stretched across the doorway. Nathan joined them, holding the oversized ceremonial scissors. "Ready?" he asked. Lily took one handle. Maya took the other. Nathan's hands steadied both of theirs. "One," the crowd chanted. "Two. Three." The scissors cut through the ribbon, and it fell away in two perfect halves. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers. Lily turned to face them, beaming, and shouted over the noise. "See? I told you we'd all be buddies." Laughter rippled through the gathering, warm, genuine, full of joy. Nathan crouched down to Lily's level. "You were right. You've been right about everything." "I know," Lily said matter-of-factly. Then she threw her arms around his neck. "Thank you for keeping your promise, Doc Buddy." Nathan's throat tightened. "Thank you for reminding me what promises are worth." As the crowd filtered inside to tour the new wing, Maya stood alone in the atrium for a moment. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows she'd designed. The curved hallways she'd sketched late at night when Lily was sleeping, the family waiting areas with soft colors and natural light, every detail exactly as she'd imagined. "You did it," Nathan said quietly, appearing beside her. Maya wiped her eyes. "We did it." "No." He shook his head. "This was always yours. I just helped it find its way back to you." She turned to face him fully. "Nathan, I don't know how to thank you for everything you've—" "You don't have to thank me." "I do, though. You risked everything, your career, your reputation." "And I'd do it again." His voice was firm, without hesitation. Their eyes met and held. 6 months of late-night planning sessions, coffee in his office while Lily drew pictures, quiet conversations about dreams and second chances, hands brushing accidentally, then not so accidentally. Moments that felt like maybe, just maybe, this could be something more. "Maya," Nathan said softly, "I need to tell you something." Her heart stuttered. "Okay." "When Claire died, I thought I was done. That the part of me that could care about someone, really care, had died with her." He paused, searching for words. "But then you walked into my ER with your daughter in your arms, and everything I thought I knew about myself changed." Maya's breath caught. "You taught me that healing isn't just about medicine," Nathan continued. "It's about showing up, fighting for people, keeping promises even when it's hard." He took her hand gently, giving her every chance to pull away. "You and Lily healed me, and if you'll let me, I'd like to spend the rest of my life returning the favor." Tears spilled down Maya's cheeks. "Nathan." "I'm not asking for an answer now," he said quickly. "I just needed you to know that you're not alone anymore, that you don't have to be." Maya looked at their joined hands, then up at his face, kind, steady, real. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Me too. What if it doesn't work?" "What if it does?" She laughed through her tears. "You make it sound so simple." "It is simple," Nathan smiled. "We take it one day at a time, one promise at a time." Maya stepped closer, and Nathan's free hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing away her tears. "One promise at a time," she repeated, and then she kissed him, soft, tentative, full of hope and fear and everything they'd survived to get here. When they pulled apart, Lily's voice echoed from somewhere inside the wing. "Mom, Doc Buddy, come see the dinosaur mural." They both laughed. "Duty calls," Maya said. "After you." As they walked hand in hand and through the glass atrium, sunlight painting patterns on the floor, Nathan thought about how far they'd come. From a rainy night in the ER to this moment. From broken promises to ones worth keeping. From two people drowning separately to two people learning to breathe together. Medicine had saved Lily's heart, but love, messy, complicated, beautiful love, had saved all of them. And as they found Lily admiring a T-Rex painted on the pediatric ward wall, Nathan realized something. Some promises aren't made with words. They're made with showing up, with fighting when it's hard, with choosing each other, again and again. And as Maya's hand tightened in his, as Lily grabbed his other hand and pulled them both toward the next room, chattering excitedly about all the super cool things she'd discovered, Nathan knew they'd keep making those promises for as long as they had, together. Sometimes healing doesn't begin in a hospital. Sometimes it begins in the heart, in a child's innocent question, in a promise kept against all odds, in two broken souls finding wholeness in each other. Love healed where medicine could not.